Welcome, reading number 4. You chose the axe. So, in these cards, they're the Island Time Wellness Love Oracle cards, and they're so rad and they don't fuck around. And you guys know, if you're new here, just to let you know, I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't candy coat shit. I love you. I will support you and hold space for you. Absolutely. But when it comes to serious shit like this, this reading is a bonus reading and it's talking about the law of detachment, this is spirit saying it is time for that fucking axe to drop and come down. You need to hear this right now. You know what needs to happen. But the thing about these cards that I really love is that each one has their own, like, it's almost like several readings within a reading. So see here we have, let me go down a little bit. Oh, here we go. We have breakup, separation, stop the pattern, silent treatment, and abandonment. Whew. Man, you guys are troopers. Wow. I felt sociopathic energy, narcissistic energy. You know, recently I was watching something from, I believe it was the Spiritual Gangster, and they were talking about how people, I think it was them, might have been somebody else, but they were talking about how people just throw around the word narcissist, and they're like, be careful, like, words have power. But in your situation, I feel like this is, I mean, at first I felt really good with the axe. I was like, good, it's time for them to, because some of you, it's your job. It's time for you to like walk away from this job. And they're just like, you know what you need to do. But for some of you, it's, well, here's the story. Here's the story about a man named Jed. Poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some pool, I think, or something, shooting at something, and out came and so I'm feeling this kind of like very poor energy and is very extravagant, rich energy. So I don't know if this is like you feel this way and like this person thinks they're like this rich. Like it almost feels like it's interesting because I just saw a vision of a rainbow too, which is very, very interesting. Because most of the time we think of, somewhere over the rainbow, right? It's like lovely. But, in this kind of situation, it kind of feels like you're on one side of the rainbow and they're on the other side of the rainbow. And it's like, and never the two shall meet, right? Like you got one side and the other side, and that's it. It's like, there's almost like there's no in between for you guys. And, it's like if they want to live in their world, like I feel like for some of you guys, like they live in their world, like they live in this happy little bubble. It's their world. Everybody else just lives in it. You know what I mean? And you're over in your rainbow world, like trying to live your thing, but it's like never the twain shall meet. Like seriously, like they're kind of like, it's almost like the cloud. Like if you look at like the cute little emoji where it's got the two clouds and it's like the rainbow between the clouds, it's kind of, oh gosh, it's like they keep showing me that. But also the silent treatment comes up with that too, because I feel like for some of you guys, like you're on one side of the rainbow, and then oh, by the way, like my partner knows I'm doing this, so I don't know where that came from, but that sounded like aggressive. Like it almost feels like you guys are in an abusive, like physical abusive relationship. There's a lot coming through. Okay. But remember, this is like 5 different readings in one. So this may all align with you, or it may just be a part of this, right? Like if this isn't your story, it's not your story, right? But there are definitely some of you that they're like, yeah, breakup is imminent. Like it needs to happen. There's no, like, no more, you know what I mean? Like I'm hearing like this person is like dark as fuck. Get away from them. You need to get away from them. And the interesting thing is, I feel like you guys, you're not afraid of them. They want you to be afraid of them, but I think deep down they know, or maybe you guys play this role that like they hold. It could even be a job, like where they know you can leave at any moment, but like they leave you in this threatening thing. Like they feed into. I feel like if for some of you that have the job, it's like they feed into the fact that like maybe you're in a narcissistic relationship with a narcissist, or somebody who's just like very like all about them and doesn't care about you or your feelings, doesn't ask about your day, doesn't, you know what I mean? And I feel like they know that and they use it too, which is really fucked up. So if you're surrounded, there was a time in my life where I didn't realize it until I started waking up, that I was like, wow, every single person that was like super close to me had a lot of their own dark agenda. and it rubbed off on me too. And then I had dark agenda. And then we were just like this ever flowing mass of like chaos. And it felt like we were awesome in some ways. And in some ways we were, but in other ways, I'm like, we were really destructive. So it could be groups of friends for you guys, but I'm just feeling like it's this like loop that just keeps bringing you back in and bringing you back in, which is why we're going to the separation and stop the pattern, because the only way for you to stop it is to get out of it. It will keep looping around. I started to realize, like, especially with my family, like I tried more than I've ever tried anything in my life. And then finally, like I went home like a few years ago for my niece's wedding, and there were just certain things that were still happening where I'm like, Jesus, like you guys are in your 50s. Like, what the fuck? Like, lay off, like, stop picking on me. I'm like, gee, it's just the bullying, and that they don't notice that they're bullying. And I'm like, I'm tired of fucking telling people that they're hurting my feelings, or, and it wasn't even that they're hurting my feelings. It was more like I was angry with the whole situation at myself, because I was like, why do I keep inserting myself into their world? I don't belong here. I don't belong here. And, and then I was like, they're all happy. What's the common denominator? Me. So I took myself out of it. And it took me some time to walk away. And it still hurts. Of course, I miss them and I think of them. But I just send them loving energy. And I'm like, I hope they're happy where they are and what they're doing. Because I am much happier now that I'm away from that energy. Now that I can be myself 100%, you need to be able to be yourself 100%, reading 4. You have got to be able to do that. The axe must come down. You must break away. And whatever people came to your mind, whatever your intuition, whatever your gut, whatever it was, it's different for all of you. You stop the pattern. It's not about somebody else. You are in full control of your life. So the law of detachment is when we finally go, enough is enough. Now I see silent treatment and abandonment. So for some of you, I feel like you were raised with the silent treatment, definitely abandonment. I'm feeling abandonment from you guys, like abandonment from, it could have been a friend, could have been a teacher, obviously a parent. It could be anything. Abandonment. And also it usually stems from one situation or one person or one thing that happens. And then we spend our lives like, going after it. It's like we almost like seek it out. It's like we're seeking it out. You're like, oh, are you going to abandon me? Oh, I want to be with you then. And you're like, what? And in your mind right now, right? You're like, why would I choose that? You wouldn't think you would, right? But you are. Because you're trying to learn. You're trying to learn from it. But you get to a point where it's like, how many times are you going to quote unquote learn from it? And how many times are you going to just, say, okay, you know what? Nobody's going to abandon me. Because the truth is, if you love yourself, you will never be abandoned. When I looked down, it was number 8. Yes. Infinity. 8 is the number infinity. Look up spirit number 8 or angel number 8, both, whatever. There's a lot of homework in these readings. They're short readings, but with a lot of homework, because it's individual for you guys. You know what you need to detach from. We just did the new moon and Gemini reading, and that was like, messages from spirit for a new beginning and a fresh start. So if you oh my gosh, I it's like somebody took my throat away. Throat chakra, you have to speak your truth. Go to that reading. If you haven't watched it already, go to that reading, because that's your new beginning. But this is the thing that you have to let go of. These situations, these people, whatever, these patterns. You will not be able to move forward until you look at it, really look at it, like go to the darkness of it, right? Like really go to the darkness of it and look at it. Forgive it, thank it, send it back into the ether to, go back into love. Everything starts from love. And it's like the telephone game. Have you ever played that game with your friends? You go around in a circle and you whisper something to somebody, and then you whisper and they whisper, and then they whisper and they whisper. And people, they're going to tell you what they remember what the person said. And at the end, it's very rare that it's the original thing that the person said. A lot of times they'll have them write it down. It's a fun game if you ever want to play that with your friends. It's more fun in a group of 10 or more, And you try to say like, a full sentence or whatever comes to you, and see how it comes out. You know, like say I said this to one of you guys, breakup, separation, stop the pattern, silent treatment, abandonment. I would love to know after 10 people what really comes out. What are they going to attach from their own personal story? Because that's what everybody does. And everybody, this whole, you know, I've been talking about this trial a lot because it's fucking fascinating. The Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. It's almost as if there isn't a war going on overseas. It's like we have our own war here, and people are watching this mental, emotional, and physical war between these two people who, you know, Elon Musk said something very kind, and he said, you know, somebody asked him, like, you know, what he thought. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he said something like, I hope they both can move on from this. He goes, because at their finest, they're both the most magical people or magnificent people or something like that, which was a really nice thing to say. You know, it's like, that was a very wise thing to say. He's like, she's not the sum of all her deeds. He's not the sum of all his deeds. Are we all angry that she did that to him? Absolutely. Is it fucked up? Absolutely. You know, but at the same time, it's made me, I was like, man, I used to do that to you. I'm like, remember when I said to my husband, I go, remember when I would like chase you out? Like he wanted to walk away. And I was like, you know, because I had a fear of abandonment. And I don't have that anymore. But it's taken me 50 years. I hope it doesn't take you 50 years, but it's taken me 50 years because, you know, I was abandoned a lot as a child. And I was born in 1971. And it's like, you know, you turn like 7 years old. It's like, oh, you're old enough. You can watch yourself. You know, it was like some of the things that I did when I look back on that and I look at like a child that age now, I'm like, I don't know if they'd be able to handle that. I don't know. But it was like sink or swim, you know, like, here you go. Here's $20. I hope you make it to the store and across those busy streets and back home with those groceries. It's like, wow. You know what I mean? My father left my mother. Abandonment. I was 12 years old. Abandonment. My mom left my father, really. But he left us long ago because he started beating my mom. My mom would give him the silent treatment. It would make him more mad. He'd beat her. There's just so many things that are going on the planet right now. So if there are things that you need to deal with them. If you were drawn to any of these other readings, please go watch them. Because, you know, one of the readings we spoke about how, you know, our words and our thoughts have so much power. So much power. So when you're thinking about somebody or somebody's coming to your mind, send them love back. But if you keep getting negative energy, it tells you a lot. And they're not dealing with their stuff and they want you to take it. If you found yourself here, you're a powerful light worker, quite possibly an empath or all of the above. And, you know, we don't digest energy the same way that the human condition does. You know, we are light beings. We are all light beings having a human experience. But some of us, light workers, we've been human many, many times. So we're waking up, we're remembering things. Some of us wake up faster than others. It's not a contest. And then there are others of us who, they don't know what the fuck's going on, man. They just think, you know, oh, another shooting or another. And, you know, now people are finally like having enough. The axe is fucking coming down because the pattern has to stop. And somebody, big groups of somebodies, has to stop it. And for those of you who are getting the silent treatment, you know, there's a way of a silent treatment. Like when I was listening to, honestly, I fell down the rabbit hole many times. Like the other night, it was like 2 a.m. and I was still watching like stuff from the trial because as an empath, a telepath, and a medium, I know when people are lying and I can tell when they're telling me, I can tell like the stories and what's happening if they're open, and some have been open and some haven't. And it's been like, I feel like I want to write a book on the fucking trial. I swear to God, from my point of view, just because it's been fascinating, because from the psychological point of view of it all, you know, he genuinely is trying to get away from her, and she genuinely thinks she thinks that's abusive. And people who've been abandoned think it's abusive. When you're watching people side with things, they're siding with people because it's happened to them. And if they haven't healed it, if they haven't gone through it, if they haven't stopped the pattern, if they haven't stopped the abuse, if they haven't broken up or separated from these people, these situations, the job, family, friends, doesn't matter. If they haven't given it the axe, then they're going to take it from their own level of consciousness. And if their level of consciousness is still abandonment, you're abandoning me. Instead of letting somebody walk away and trying to cool down, you know, he was trying to de-escalate the situation. Other people are like, I feel sorry for her. I'm like, I do too. I feel sad that she experienced that. I feel sad that that's something that's happened to her. But at the same time, she is somebody who always gets what she wants. and she'll manipulate and cajole and do what she will. And she's magical. She's a little witch, right? So she's just like putting all this energy out into the world. It's like watching her and some of these things. I'm like, wow, she's a witch for sure. But so is he. Like, so you got two magicians, like these two people fighting each other with their human shit. When like reading their journals, like when they were like reading pieces of their journal, I was like, wow. I was like, they really went there. It's like, that's why the rabbit hole. Cause I was just like, oh yeah, I'd watch a little snippet here, a little snippet there. But then I was watching their personal love journal that they made together when they got married to write each other. I was like, it was beautiful and sad and tragic. And it's like, at the end of it, it's like, this is a beautiful love, two people that loved each other very much that are dealing with their own shit from their own families, their own trauma. But underneath there was a lot of love, I'm sure. But if somebody's working from a level of darkness and narcissism and sociopathic behavior, you cannot have a tender empath like Johnny. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's what it is. You know, it was the thing that freaked me out. If you haven't watched the trials, and I'm sorry to bring this into your reading, but I have to. The one thing that really tripped me out the most, I didn't really talk about. I just like kind of sat with it for a minute. And then I was posting something on YouTube, and something came into my orbit of this woman who is I don't know if she was a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, psychotherapist, whatever she was. She was a doctor. She was British. And she was watching it, and to watch her side, you know, a lot of people are doing these side by sides, whatever, and they're giving their commentary. That's fine. But feeding the fire isn't really helping. What I liked what she was doing is she was trying to break down the energy behind it. And I was like, dude, she's a fucking witch. Like, she's a medium. I don't know if she knows that or not or whatever. I didn't really get more into her practice, but she said exactly what I said, where she said, what is very frightening and quite haunting is to watch her feeding the jury and crying with no tears coming out of her face whatsoever. And then the judge says something to her, and she like, it's as if somebody said cut, and she turned to the judge and she's like, what was that? And it's just so freaky. And then like the judge is talking and the lawyer or whatever, and then the lawyer says something to her, and then she's like, and it was almost like he was like, and action, because she was like, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, this isn't a fucking play. This is his life. This is your life. This is real. And even though we all know, like, this is the Matrix and all this shit, this fucking shit is real. Emotions, human behavior, how much it damages us from the inside out. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter. And we all go through different things, right? You know, this selenite, I was like feeling this energy from the selenite. I wasn't sure what it wanted. Selenite, get some selenite. It's good to keep in the house. It does not collect or retain any negative energy. It cleanses the energy. It cleanses your crystals. It's not very expensive. Get big pieces of it, you know, keep them around your house. Some people like bars, sticks, whatever, small pieces, put them all over and help clear the energy. Because for some of you guys, I feel like you need to unbutton the house, open all your windows on like a windy day, even on a thunderstorm when it's windy, like let it come ripping through your house, you know, smudge. This energy has got to be broken up. And for some of you, you definitely need to separate from an actual person. It's not fucking healthy. You may think it's healthy. It is not healthy, but deep down, you know it's not healthy. You keep changing and you're evolving, and they're not, and you cannot take them with you, and you cannot make them change. Johnny is like, this is like such a beautiful fucking metaphor. It's like, it is literally like life imitating art, art imitating life. It's like, I mean, everything's changing. You're seeing people's faces. I mean, it's unbelievable. And some of the things she said, I'm like, that is not what happened. Like, I know with every fiber of my being, I'm like, that is not what happened. I'm like, she's lying. I'm like, oh my, I'm like, how could she lie like that? But then they like posted this one thing of like a few days after, I think she served him a restraining order and the divorce papers were served. And she said that he hit her and all this shit. And she was like, can I please see you? And he did it reluctantly, but he taped it because he's fucking smart. And you can literally hear her crying, saying, you're killing me. She's like, I mean, I won't even get into the dramatics of it. But the interesting thing is, when you hear her on the tapes and you see her in court, you're like, that's real what's on the tapes. That's who she really is. Everything else we're seeing is a facade. And it's heartbreaking to hear her like that, but also creepy as fuck. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, holy shit. But I've also been that creepy girl in the car begging someone after you know what I mean? I've done it too. We've all been the villain and the hero in somebody's story, especially if you're drinking and doing drugs. Absolutely. Because you're not controlling your emotions. And so the patterns and everything's getting out of control. So, and if you're interested, man, watch it. But watch it when you're like in a good vibration, and when you're done, like pray and clear your aura and energy. Cause it's heavy. And my partner has been dealing with it, but I'm like, can I please talk about it again? Because I'm just like, dude, it's so crazy. Like, it's just so, like, I'm dying. Like, I've never wanted to see the verdict of anything in my entire life so badly, because it's just fascinating to me. It's like, literally, we are watching all of ourselves in these people. And you know what? Not everybody's lives, even because what you're seeing, that's what's real. What you see on social media isn't the real fucking thing. And if you're that person that's trying to pretend like you're this perfect couple, everything's perfect, you're not. We all have fucking darkness in us. We're supposed to. We need to balance the light and the dark. And the best way for you to do that is to walk away from that job, that person, that situation, people, whatever it is, whatever pinged for you, wherever your intuition hit on this reading. You know what you got to do. All right, you guys, I love you so much. I hope this helped you in any way. All of my information and reading recommendations, if you want to reach out to me for a one-on-one or recorded reading, Reiki, anything, email me at themagicalmedium@gmail.com. All that information is below. It's also in my About section on the top there. If you see the tabs, you'll see the About section. Click on that. At the bottom has links to all of my stuff. So if you'd like to contribute to this channel, I thank you so much in advance. I love you. I love you. I love you. Until next time, take really good care of yourself and each other. Blessed be. Aho.